Capitalism is more than just an economic system. It is a worldview, a framework that has deeply influenced how people live, work, and relate to each other. It governs the organization of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, and shapes our values around success, innovation, and individual effort. Understanding the history of capitalism is not merely an academic exercise. It helps us see the roots of modern society and better comprehend the forces shaping our future. The rise of capitalism did not happen overnight. Tracing this journey allows us to witness how human creativity, ambition, and competition forged a system both admired and criticized. While capitalism has brought unprecedented wealth and innovation, it has also raised questions about fairness, sustainability, and the distribution of resources. The debates surrounding capitalism continue to shape global conversations about economics, justice, and the future of humanity. This evolving story touches every corner of modern life, making its study more relevant than ever. By exploring its origins and transformations, we can better understand both its achievements and its challenges. From feudalism to early capitalism. Before capitalism emerged, feudalism structured medieval European society around land ownership, loyalty, and agricultural labor. Lords owned vast estates and controlled the serfs or peasants who worked the land, often with little hope for social mobility. Wealth was measured in land, and most economic activity was subsistence-based, with little surplus for trade or investment. The rise of cities and long-distance trade began to disrupt the static feudal order. This marked the birth of early forms of capitalism, where private individuals began to accumulate wealth by reinvesting profits. The invention of double-entry bookkeeping in the 14th century symbolized this transition, allowing merchants to manage capital more efficiently. At the same time, banking institutions emerged, facilitating loans and investments in ventures beyond local markets. These financial innovations helped solidify the beginnings of a more dynamic and mobile economy. A new commercial class began to emerge, independent of the traditional feudal hierarchy. These early capitalists laid the groundwork for the sweeping transformations to come. Mercantilism, the state and trade. During the 16th to 18th centuries, mercantilism became the dominant economic policy across European powers. Governments sought to amass wealth by controlling trade and maximizing exports while minimizing imports. This policy aimed to increase national power and independence through a favorable balance of trade. Rulers granted monopolies to trading companies and regulated colonial economies to benefit the home country. Colonies were expected to supply raw materials and serve as markets for finished goods. Institutions like the Dutch East India Company exemplified this fusion of state power and private enterprise. While mercantilism spurred global trade and exploration, it also entrenched systems of exploitation, including slavery and colonialism. Mercantilist policies often led to imperial rivalries and wars, as European powers competed for economic dominance around the globe. Over time, critics began to argue that markets should be freed from such tight government control. The Industrial Revolution, birth of modern capitalism. The Industrial Revolution, beginning in Britain in the late 18th century, marked the transition from agrarian economies to industrialized, mechanized production. Steam power, mechanized looms, and the factory system transformed manufacturing, enabling mass production at unprecedented scales. As people moved from the countryside to cities in search of work, new economic and social classes emerged. The capitalist class owned the means of production and amassed wealth, while the working class sold their labor in often harsh conditions. Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, 1776, articulated a vision of a self-regulating market driven by competition and the pursuit of individual gain. His ideas helped legitimize the new industrial capitalist order. New modes of production didn't just change economies, they revolutionized lifestyles, social structures, and the pace of everyday life. The efficiency and scale of industrial capitalism quickly spread beyond Britain, shaping economies around the globe. Capitalism and social critique. As capitalism expanded, so did critiques of its moral and social consequences. Karl Marx argued that capitalism inherently exploited workers by appropriating the value of their labor. He envisioned a revolutionary overthrow of capitalist systems to be replaced by socialism and eventually communism. Marx believed that capitalism's internal contradictions, overproduction, inequality, and alienation, would eventually cause it to collapse. His materialist interpretation of history proposed that economic systems evolve through class struggle. Other thinkers, such as Max Weber, offered a more nuanced view. He saw capitalism not merely as an economic arrangement but as a deeply embedded cultural system. Utopian socialists and anarchists also offered alternative visions, proposing cooperative societies without exploitation. These critiques helped spark labor movements, political ideologies, and revolutions that still influence economic discourse today. The tension between capital and labor became one of the defining struggles of modern times. Capitalism in the 20th century. The 20th century witnessed major transformations in capitalism, especially in response to crises and global conflicts. The Great Depression exposed vulnerabilities in free market systems and led to the rise of Keynesian economics, advocating state intervention to stabilize markets. This period also saw the expansion of consumer capitalism, where goods became more affordable and accessible to the middle class. After World War II, new international institutions helped manage global trade and finance. By the 1970s, economic stagnation and inflation challenged the Keynesian model. Neoliberalism rose to prominence, promoting deregulation and privatization. Financialization became a defining trend of late-century capitalism, reshaping how value and labor were understood. Corporate culture and branding became central to identity, transforming everyday consumption into expressions of status and selfhood. Globalization and contemporary capitalism. By the turn of the 21st century, capitalism had become a truly global system. Technological advances and deregulated markets allowed capital to flow across borders more freely than ever before. Multinational corporations grew in influence, often rivaling nation-states in economic power. At the same time, critiques of globalization intensified, particularly regarding labor exploitation and environmental destruction. The digital economy introduced platform capitalism, characterized by companies like Amazon and Google. Surveillance capitalism emerged, where personal data became a core asset for profit. The growing divide between digital wealth and traditional labor raised fresh questions about equity and sustainability in a hyper-connected world. As automation and AI reshape the job market, new ethical and economic dilemmas continue to arise. Conclusion: the history of capitalism is a story of constant change. From humble beginnings in medieval trade to a global system that shapes how we live and work, capitalism has proven to be both dynamic and disruptive. Its evolution is marked by innovation, inequality, adaptation, and struggle. Understanding this history helps us navigate the present and envision possible futures. As we confront global challenges like climate change and inequality, the question remains: can capitalism evolve to meet human and ecological needs? Or will new systems emerge to take its place? History shows us that economic systems are never static, and that change, whether gradual or sudden, is always possible. The next chapter of capitalism, or whatever replaces it, will be written by all of us. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through the history of capitalism thought-provoking, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the ideas that shape our world.